Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Chronicles Express with me, Andy, from the Red Devil Chronicle. This week, United form's hot, but good enough for Spurs? United chat coming up next. Welcome along then, good to see you all again, and apologies for the delay in publishing the podcast. As some of you may have seen on Twitter, we did have a bit of a problem with the file the first time round, so this is actually the second attempt at the Chronicles Express episode 8. Apologies also in general for recent form on the podcast. It has been difficult to organise the last couple of weeks with studio upgrades, availability, so we have been in poor form, not United poor form, but poor form all the same, so we do apologise. But we have been receiving some tweets recently that have really driven home just how brilliant and special our relatively small community is. So I want to start out with a bit of a shout out, because we're not the biggest United fan page, but the response we've always had and the support from our followers has been absolutely brilliant. And you've now put up with us for 10,000 tweets as well. So thank you for putting up with us, and here's to the next 10,000 as well. Now, the tweet that came in to us initially was from @SHSL United fan. Said, honestly, your page is so underrated, needs a lot more exposure. That was followed up from @CClay1978 United. It's the funniest, most honest United page around. So I wanted to give thanks, firstly, for those wonderful tweets that we've received, and also, as I say, for the support and for the involvement that you bring to this channel. This is the reason why we do it, and we do greatly appreciate you getting involved in everything that we do. So shout outs to the following people that are particularly committed followers to us. Please do, if you're new to the channel or new to Twitter, give these people a follow if you don't already, if you enjoy talking about United or football in general. So @CClay1978 United, @Cogsy666, @Copious Opium, @SHSL United fan, @IamJoggyVQ, @BigC75, @Serious1s, @Deepaksiani, @Jambuck0, @Sayafik @TrueFanMan United, @LVG's Wonky Nose, @Nazanto, @AXAS23, and @Schweiderlin. Please do give them all a follow and shout out to all of you. Thanks very much, as I say, for getting involved. Let's crack on then with the actual podcast itself. Back to last weekend's game to begin with. Of course, Manchester United 1, Everton 0. Now, the easiest way for me to cover this game would be to just play any other episode of the Chronicles podcast and just edit Everton into it. It was symptomatic very much of United's issues all season. Don't tend to turn up against the teams lower down in the league. Don't tend to take the game to teams as much as we should do, especially at home. And yet again, it's Martial we're relying on for end product up front. A great play, though, also from Fosu Mensah in the build-up. Should give him a mention. A good confidence boost for him. Great to see him getting forward. Not the best of balls in the world. Coleman should do better with it, but all the same, he was in the right area and he's putting the balls into the right sort of area, so fair play to him. Another solid performance from the bench from him. Also worth a mention, Daley Blind. Worried for him in the opening minutes of the afternoon, as I tweeted out, with his ability to deal with pace and also with strength as well, but he was absolutely excellent. We did say he was a very good reader of the game in that same tweet, and that proved to win the day. Worth man of the match on our poll. I know he didn't get it officially, but 71% of voters on our poll gave Daley Blind man of the match, and rightly so. But that Everton side could have easily walked out of Old Trafford with at least a point, and that's what concerns me. We did get the win, and we have been solid at Old Trafford in terms of results this season, but we are giving far too many opportunities away to these sides to walk away with points. Now, the win leaves us 1 point behind Manchester City for fourth spot, of course, 7 games to play, and yet does anyone truly believe that we're going to finish in the top 4? How vital is it also that we get top 4 in terms of attracting the right calibre of players? We're looking to rebuild this squad again. If we miss out on Champions League football, are we going to be able to build a new regime if Louis van Gaal goes? How much of a concern is it to you? Let us know at We Follow United or in the comments section below. I fear that we do risk more abject periods under a new regime if we can't attract the right players into the club, and I fear in not getting top 4 that may well be the case. On the flip side, of course, if we do get top 4, there is the concern that Louis van Gaal perhaps stays. But that's something that we're going to go into in a little bit more detail on the fan takeover. I've pretty much covered everything I need to say about the Everton game because there isn't a lot to say. It was a boring first half, a little bit better second half. Really happy, of course, for Martial that he got United's 1,000th Premier League goal at Old Trafford, created a bit of history there, and hopefully he becomes part of the club's history moving forward. I certainly hope so, and he has the potential, albeit he is very raw still at the moment. Moving on to the fan reviews, which very much sum up, again, everything that's been said all season. At Clay1978 United says, a steady, unspectacular 7 out of 10. How many more times do we have to put up with this? Good question. At Big C75, another dreary LVG performance, but wins are a must now, so I'll take it. 6.5 out of 10 from him. At TrueFan Man United gives it a 5 out of 10. I get it's a results business, but not like that. Hashtag bored stupid. Again, completely understand that. And at Serious One says, the better team versus a poor Everton side, so a well-deserved win. 7.2 out of 10 from at Serious Ones. Didn't realise we were doing anything other than half marks. We let you off with half marks. 7.2, I'll let you have just because of the ingenuity of it. So well played there. But yeah, it was the 3 points that were important. It does keep us in the race for fourth. Whether or not we'll get there, well, who's to say, really? It's been a very unpredictable season. You'd say on United's form all season that we probably won't, but anything is possible. And only 1 point behind Manchester City. Are their eggs in one basket for the Champions League? Will that distract them from the Premier League and give them the usual hangover the following weekend? We'll soon find out. Of course, they play West Brom in the 5:30 kickoff at home. Can't see anything more than a win personally. But if they do slip up, there's a chance that we could go into fourth by the end of the weekend. And that's surely got to be a confidence boost for the players. But in terms of confidence, Anthony Martial, of course, very high on confidence, has been all season, been one of our standout players. What, though, for some of the lesser players that have stepped into the fold? Jesse Lingard, for example. What's his United future? We asked you that and more, and that's coming up with your answers from the Fan Takeover. That's next. So every Monday afternoon from 12 o'clock, we ask you some of the big questions surrounding Manchester United to clear the weekend blues. And it was a great response again this week, I have to say. Some really good debates got going on Twitter, some excellent responses. So let's fire straight into it. As I mentioned in the end of the United chat section there of the show, we wanted to know whether you thought Jesse Lingard is good enough to be a regular starter for Manchester United. Now, this one was an overwhelming no. Nearly 93% of all fans that voted on this said no, Jesse Lingard is not good enough to be a regular starter for Man United. And I'm not in any way trying to slag off a lad who's come through the academy system, gone out and worked on loan, did a good job at Derby on his most recent loan move. But at 23 years of age, he isn't a youth prospect anymore, and we need time to mould him. And I don't think personally we have that time with the situation we're in at the moment. I don't think he adds enough to the game personally. He disappears frequently from games that I've seen, and he isn't chipping in with the goals or the assists that we need, and we're desperately in need of more players to chip in with those. And trust me, Jesse Lingard is not the only player needing criticism for that side of his game, but he just does not add enough. Pace is not enough. He doesn't find a pass. He doesn't find a key ball. He doesn't create enough chances. He doesn't score enough goals. And in the position he's playing in, that's what he's there to do ultimately. So if he can't do that, he shouldn't be there. And clearly, that seems to be the case that a lot of fans who voted on this poll did agree with that. And it is a key area of the squad that needs some serious work. Now, we had a comment from Copious Opium that pretty much summed it up. Squad player, he said, but a useful one. Could see him playing a similar role in the squad that Young has over the last few years. And I've no problem with that. You know, the squad has to be built up of a number of different options available so that you can chop and change a game as you need to. But what worries me is that Jesse Lingard is starting every single game for Manchester United at the moment, and I don't think he has the talent to do so. Hopefully he'll prove me wrong. I'm not one of these people who will stand by their comments regardless of what happens. So if Jesse Lingard does pick up performances and does move forward well, then absolutely he deserves a shot, as does anyone in the squad, to go and get themselves a first team spot. And I hope he does. I do back him and I do support him, and I like the story behind him, and I want him to succeed at the club. I just don't think he's good enough, and I don't think just because he is a local lad that's come through the academy, that automatically grants him a place in the team. That's just my opinion. Anything different you have to say, or if you agree and have any other differing reasons, do let us know at We Follow United or in the comments section on Twitter. Always interested in opening up any debates that you're interested in. Moving on to the next question from the fan takeover. This one was an interesting one. Would you prefer at the end of the season that we get top 4 and LVG stays, or we miss out on top 4 and LVG goes? This one was fascinating. 75% said they'd rather miss out on top 4 to get rid of LVG. Wow, how incredible is that? A couple of comments that came in on this one. Deepak Siani says, get top 4 and LVG still goes. There's a man who wants everything. ATX AS23 says, Mourinho without top 4 can attract better players than Van Gaal with it, so it's a no-brainer. It's a good comment, that, actually, and Mourinho, with his pedigree, albeit slightly damaged from the Chelsea job, is still going to be very high around Europe, so absolutely, he should be able to attract some top-name players regardless of whether we have Champions League football or not, or certainly you'd hope, otherwise we would be struggling. But this poll really show and highlight how much damage Louis van Gaal has done to this club and to the United fans. The fact that you'd rather miss out on Champions League football just to get rid of a manager pretty much sums it up for me. And if Woodward or Louis van Gaal hear of that poll, then please react to it by getting rid of him immediately, because that is a damaging poll to see. Fans want rid of Louis van Gaal that much that they would be more inclined to get rid of him if we missed out on Champions League. Incredible. The last poll that we had from Twitter this week on the fan takeover was, which area of the squad do you consider to be the weakest and where needs strengthening the most as a result? Was it centre-back, central midfield, on the wings or up front? Now, 34% of fans voted on this, said the wings were the key area to focus on and the weakest point in the squad at the moment. I think that pretty much sums up my point about Jesse Lingard and others not providing enough in that position. Juan Mata's not done it out there either. Martial has done it from out there. He's been the only player who has really done it from the wings. Rashford, when he's played out to the wide sort of right or left, hasn't really done it. So we don't have players that are naturally comfortable there. And so that does definitely need some serious work. 29% said up front. It is a huge priority without a doubt. Where would you be looking to sign though? I mean, we've discussed it previously. If Zlatan was our only signing up front from the summer, I personally would be very disappointed with that. Not because I don't think Zlatan could do a job. At 35 though, he's not going to be able to play week in, week out at the sort of level of the Premier League. If you look at the way PSG have won the French League at a canter so early, it really is a laughable league in comparison. And so you couldn't expect Zlatan to play every week. What I do think he'd bring would be the arrogance that United need. I also think working alongside the likes of Rashford and Martial in training would do them wonders as well, I'm sure. So in that respect, I'd be happy. But we need more than that. You know, Zlatan is not going to be our key man, or certainly shouldn't be seen that way as a 35-year-old. There was a comment that came in from Big C75 on Twitter we were discussing yesterday, and it is sort of getting that way with the targets we're getting linked with. It's a lot of the older players. You know, we've brought in Schweinsteiger, who's potentially at the twilight of his career, if not past the twilight. Also being linked always, and I know it's not going to happen, with Ronaldo, though, of course, he's getting older. Now Zlatan. Are we going to become a new AC Milan? Are we going to take out players that are dying on their feet in terms of their career and just let them live in our retirement home? I don't think that's the way we should be going personally. Let us know what you think about that side of things. Where would you be looking in terms of centre-forward targets? 26% of the fans who voted on the poll here said centre-back was priority. I think it, again, is a key area. The spine of the squad really needs tweaking. And it is key also for me personally to bring in a leader at the back. That's where I want to go with it, as we don't have a natural one either at the back or really in general in the squad. You could perhaps put an argument in there for someone like Schweinsteiger, and Rooney has been a good captain in terms of what he's done off the pitch, if not so much on it. But there aren't really any natural leaders in that squad at all, and so that really needs work on. We need someone to coming alongside Chris Smalling. Yep, Daley Blind has been brilliant. He's proved his doubters wrong, including myself and Nick from the start of the season, who didn't think he'd be able to fill that position for the season. He's done that. But although he's able, he's not brilliant, and he's not permanent for me if United want to get back to where they are. I think he's a good utility player, Daley Blind. I've got no problem with him being part of the squad. As I was saying about Lingard earlier, you need different players that can bring something new. Daley Blind does have an excellent range of passing, reads the game really well, very clever footballer, but nothing more, in my opinion, than just a very good version of John O'Shea. But you need players like that. John O'Shea was crucial in some games for us in terms of what he could do to operate within a certain game based on what United needed. So I don't think that's a problem. But we do need someone better, certainly at the back. Who that is, I don't know how many good leaders there are in terms of centre-backs in world football at the moment that are gettable. That's the problem. Now, the remaining 11% of you said central midfield was the key area. If Schneiderlin and Herrera were played, that's without doubt our strongest area. No doubt about that at all. And so I think that's perhaps reflected that if we choose not to play the likes of Fellaini each week in central midfield, and even Carrick can't play week in, week out, Schweinsteiger, again, very much the same. But we do have talent in there, no doubt about that, if it's used well. And if Schneiderlin and Herrera do get their chance, I think that's definitely the way to go forward and the strongest part of the team. But will Schneiderlin and Herrera get their chance at the weekend? Well, we'll certainly see. I'm going to discuss that and a lot more in the weekend preview to finish the show. It's the Sunday 4 o'clock kickoff. It's Spurs versus Manchester United. What a game this is in prospect, not only for the title race, but for us battling for fourth spot and Champions League football as well. Let's kick off by looking at the weekend preview with Spurs, see where they're up to in terms of their current form. So they are fifth in the form table over the last 6 games. They've won 11 points from a possible 18, with 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat. Slightly better at home at the moment. They're fourth in the form table for home fixtures over the last 6, with 13 points gained. That's 4 wins, 1 draw, and just the 1 defeat at home in the last 6. That loss was the late header from Robert Huth against Leicester. Now, Tottenham's obvious threat, of course, is Harry Kane, top goal scorer in the league with 22 so far, and his combination play so far with Dele Alli has been phenomenal of late. They've combined to score the most goals of any pairing in 2016, which is not too shabby at all. Also looking at some more stats for Spurs, rather worryingly for ourselves, Spurs do create more chances than anyone else. They've also had more shots than anyone else this season in the Premier League as well, and they do have the best shot accuracy. They've also scored more goals than any other team in the Premier League as well, so a real struggle on our hands there to deal with. How do we combat that? Do we lie on the floor and simply pray? It's not the worst idea, but here's how I personally would line up to face Spurs. I would go David De Gea in goal. Nothing particular shocking about that. I will explain the slightly left field choices in a moment. I've got from right to left, Fosu Mensah, Smalling, Blind and Darmian. I've got a midfield 3. Yes, I know I asked Louis van Gaal at the start of the season for a 4-2-3-1, but it's not worked. And with the team that we have, 4-3-3 brought us so much success last season, and I cannot for the life of me understand, with things not working out at the moment, how he hasn't reverted back or stumbled back across the 4-3-3 formation. So my 3 across midfield would be Schneiderlin and Herrera. Those 2 would get in, as I mentioned at the end of the fan takeover. They're the best pairing for me. And I'm going to controversially add to that James Ware. Now, it's been mentioned recently by Nick on Twitter, I know, and with the youth prospects that we have available at Manchester United coming through, James Ware has to be given a chance sooner rather than later. I'm going to explain more on that in a minute. I'll just run through the rest of the squad and then we'll go into detail of exactly why I'm putting James Ware right into the fold. My front 3 then, from right to left, I'm bringing back Ashley Young into the squad for a start. Now he's back from injury. Rashford plays up central and Martial from the left. So here's my thinking. Tottenham aren't lightning quick, but they have got bags of energy. So I'm thinking let's match up with Spurs in terms of energy in the midfield. and let's give our exciting young talent James Ware a run out in the same way that they've given players like Tom Carroll, Ryan Mason, of course Dele Alli that they brought in from MK Dons, that's hit the ground running, and some as well. So let's introduce our young talents to the midfield. You know, they've given youth a chance with Pochettino, and they're really reaping the benefits of that now. And Louis van Gaal's never been afraid to put youth in, and of course James Ware did get a sub-appearance against Arsenal at Old Trafford recently as well. So I think this is the time to start him now. Let's get him into the squad. Whether or not we get top four football, I'm not sure of anyway, and I don't know if setting up with any team at that Tottenham side is necessarily going to bring a result, but I just think let's get the ball from the midfield quickly up front. Let's test them for pace at the back. Let's match their energy in midfield. Let's just do something different if there's potential for excitement in it. Nothing has worked so far really to a good level on a consistent basis, so let's shake it up a bit. Let's give something new a try. United at the moment, in terms of their away form, and this was perhaps inspiration behind me deciding to throw the rulebook out the window in terms of the team lineup, is that United's away form is mid-table, literally mid-table. We're 10th in the form table for the last 6 away games, with only 8 points gained from a possible 18. Just 2 wins from that, 2 draws and 2 defeats within the last 6. And we've also drawn the last 3 games at White Hart Lane in the league as well, and it's by setting up not to lose. The last time we won at White Hart Lane would have been under Sir Alex Ferguson, I think back in 2012 if I remember correctly, but it had been within that season. I think we won 3-1, but that just about says it all really, doesn't it? Since Sir Alex Ferguson has left the club, we've just gone to these places to set up not to lose in away games. Now, we have been typically very good against the better teams in the league, so rather than just setting up to accept a point from this game, why don't we really go out and hurt Spurs? You know, Tottenham are going to have to come out at us because they need the win, because of course Leicester are pulling away and look very much like they're going to win the league title, and this is really Tottenham's last sort of opportunity to still show that they're in there with half a chance. If they don't beat us, that's pretty much it over, so they're going to have to throw caution to the wind. I say let's throw it right back at them. That's my thoughts anyway. Let me know how you'd set up in terms of your team at We Follow United on Twitter. Do comment below as well with your sort of squad that you would choose if you were Louis van Gaal. Not predicting what Louis van Gaal's going to pick, because we all know what Louis van Gaal's going to do. Ending the show then with score predictions. We've got a few come in so far. So at Cogsy666 says 2-1 to Spurs. At CClay1978 United, and this worries me because he's usually the channel optimist, he's gone positive, 2-2. At Big C75 says 2-1 to Spurs. At Series 1 says 1-2 United win. So what am I going to go for? Well, I think if we played my team that I've just chosen, I think we've got a chance of going there and nicking a 2-1 win. But seeing as Louis van Gaal's in charge, I'm going to go for, I was going to say 2-1, but everyone else is going with that. I'm going to say 2-0 to Spurs, unfortunately. I think they are going to beat us if Louis van Gaal plays the team I expect him to. I hope he doesn't plant a tree at White Hart Lane, and I hope he does give some of the options that I've just thrown in there an opportunity just to go out and prove themselves, and just to go and enjoy it as well. Pressure really is off to a degree. I know we were in the battle for top 4, but I think looking at the poll from earlier, a lot of fans don't seem to be bothered about what happens at the end of the season, so long as Louis van Gaal ends up leaving at the end of it. So let's try and make the best of the situation we're in. Yeah, let's try and give ourselves, of course, the best opportunity to go out and get Champions League football. You know, you're never going to turn that opportunity down, surely. But I just think, you know, we've always been willing to give youth a chance. James Ware has proved himself very well for the youth team. Had his substitute appearances, say, recently against Arsenal. Let's throw him into the fold and see how he does. We've given other youth players a chance, possibly with lesser experience or even lesser talent. So let's really give it a go on Sunday. Let's see what we can go out and get there. Let's not just go and play for 1 point, because that's not going to get us anywhere. So we might as well go out all guns blazing. Now, if you've got any score predictions for us, any other things that you want to cover from this week's podcast that hasn't been covered already, or any responses, of course, that you have to anything that we have covered this week, please do get in touch on Twitter at We Follow United. Do get involved in the comment section below with your thoughts as well. Give the video a like as well if you like what we do, and do subscribe if you're new. We are trying to get regular content back to you as soon as possible with Joe and Nick joining me again as soon as is possible. But I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to us and support us in the way that you always have done. And let's hope that we have a very successful weekend. 3 big points up for grabs at White Hart Lane. Let's go out and get them. Have a good weekend. Thanks for listening.